Yeah.
Awesome. Guess better kick it off then, huh?
Just
All right.
second.
Let's give it a second.
Yep.
All right. I'll cool my jets a bit longer. Nice.
Hello, everyone. We are glad to see you. We are back. And today we are having an interview with RickandMortyOG, which is a very legendary account on the platform because it's #1 fan account on Bitclout, and probably the first one was created in early stages of Bitclout. It was created like 2 days before, after the Diamond Hands created his account. And to begin with, I'd like to give the floor to Mark Bentley to present our speaker and start our conversation. Thank you, everyone, for watching it.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. And big shout out, Alex, for all you're doing with Clout Forum and Bitclout and bringing all these people to the stage and helping us get it out there. Really appreciate your work. And welcome, Tristan from Rick and Morty OG.
Yeah, so, thanks so much for having me, guys.
3 a.m. over in Cape Town.
3 a.m. Definitely, yeah. Well, staying up. I kind of just went to bed a little bit early. Had a bit of a cat nap. Set like 1 million alarms, as one does, and yeah, been up since about 1:30 now, just prepping. You know.
You're a superstar, man. You're a superstar. Hey, I want to read this little bio that we got here. We've been sharing out, just for those that didn't catch the post we were sharing and might not be sure of who Tristan is. I'm sure you've seen the Rick and Morty OG fan page on Bitclout. But if you haven't, I'll read this little bit here because I think it sounds incredible. Rick and Morty OG is the biggest fan page on Bitclout. NFT and canvas artist, philosopher, spiritualist, psychedelic shaman, poet, writer, talk show host, and game master. He seeks love for the world, freedom from injustice, and decentralization for the people. Fan page on Bitclout consists of fan art, spiritual and psychonautical concepts and entertainment out of this dimension. And as Alex mentioned, started the account 2 days after Diamond's Hands. So if you're not following Rick and Morty OG already, which with 5,517 followers, Tristan, I'd say a lot of them are. If you're not, make sure you go follow him because he's got a lot of awesome work coming out. So with that being said, Tristan, how you doing? How you feeling this morning?
Yeah, fantastic. I'm a little bit tired, but my coffee is for sure helping me. Yeah, I feel great. Hey, but Clout never really stops, so I don't either.
Yeah. So let's go straight. I mean, that's the first thing I want to hear, is how did you come across Bitclout? Like you're 2 days after Diamond Hands. What's the story there? What's your origin story for Bitclout?
Yeah. It's a good question. My father is quite big into the cryptocurrency space. He has been for quite a few years now. And we go back and forth on different trades and different new things that are coming out. And I remember about 3.5 months ago when it was, he sent me a message and said he wanted to give me a call on this new project that was coming out. That, I mean, when I joined, it was still password protected. It was still, you couldn't even enter it. You couldn't get into it. It didn't look anything like it does right now. I joined before you could reclout, before there were diamonds, before there was videos or anything really like that. And he kind of just sent me a link after we had this chat about this platform, and I was hooked immediately before it had anything. And I actually watched it for a few days. I was on the actual site on bitclout.com on, I think it was the second day it was ever created. But I was still a bit skeptical about what was going on and what this meant or what was going to happen or any of the people on here. So I actually waited a couple of days before creating an account or before doing any of that, and just roamed around as a public key for a bit. But quickly but surely I got too excited to not. So I created an account, tested it out, and yeah, I've been here since, interacting with the community. I can't stop. It's incredible. It's everything that I would see the progression of the world going towards. So yeah.
That's almost a quotable statement right there, roaming around as a public key for a while. So what, and So what is it that you saw in Bitclout? Like, what is it that you love about it that really connected to you so much and just made you say yes?
Well, I love the fact that a creator can not necessarily have a value put on them, but be compensated for what they are doing, regardless of how small it is. They are feeling direct compensation for what they have put out there, what they've created, what they've said, who they've interacted with within the community. And I feel no other community within any other social media does that. They don't give credit where credit, I feel, is due. They kind of just use the creators who are on their platform and go from there. And yeah, I never really agreed with that, and so I never really used too much social media before Bitclout, and now I use it more than I eat. So you know.
Yeah, so you weren't really Facebook, Instagram, that kind of thing. You weren't big on those
Not
platforms?
really. Or? I mean, I have an Instagram account. I have a Facebook account. A couple thousand followers on those, but no, I wasn't active as I am on Bitclout. Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something you really see, isn't it? On Bitclout is like, I'm kind of similar. Like on social media, I do things for my work and things for like this, but I wouldn't be getting up in the morning. You know, I wouldn't be staying up at 3 a.m. in the morning like yourself to jump on and get involved. You know, so yeah, it's really inspiring to see how it's like a fire that's really come for the creators to start working. It really with, is. Right?
Yeah, it kind of just burns up inside you. You've got to do anything you can about it, you know. And there's always different interactions going because we're global. It doesn't feel like other social medias where, you know, you just go to sleep and the rest of the world kind of feels like it goes to sleep with you because most of your following is from your country of origin, you know. This kind of feels like you're with the whole world as a community and you're just going, and it just doesn't stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, big shout out to Anna Matreshka, who's joined us in the call and in the audience. And, you know, and that brings us, you know, the Nacho Average call. It's one of those places where, you know, you see that in action. Like, you know, no matter what time of the day, you can jump into that call and there's always going to be someone fascinating. And that's where I actually got to meet you the first time in person.
So. Yeah, I will seize the opportunity and I will tell to Anna, maybe she should consider to participate in our interview as well. So we can talk her winner, her prize. No, not now. I mean, but next time. So we can talk about Clout and your journey, and it will be awesome, I think, to share this.
Yes, and it will definitely have you on for sure.
Sorry, Tristan, for stealing your time.
So tell me, Tristan, what's your background before Bitclout as a creative? You know, what was your kind of passion around that?
I've always been an artist in terms of drawing and painting and digital art. Not as much digital as Bitclout has inspired, but for sure was still as addicted, I feel, as before. I've always been mostly a writer. That's kind of been my passion for years and years. I'm writing a novel, a fantasy novel. And I write a lot of poems, a lot of short stories. That's mostly where I'm at, and pretty much to do with the spirituality and psychedelic side of reality. I have very different opinions of reality to most people that I speak to anyway. I don't really see what is there. I see, you know, the Matrix, not really, but, you know, close enough. I like to write about all the spiritual side of it. That's mostly where my passion's at.
Fantastic. And so when you're writing, so you're weaving your perspective in a sense into those writings. Is that right?
Yeah. More everyone's perspective. I try and communicate to the point that I'm writing from multiple perceptions at once, because I feel we're all inside our own. We're all stuck in our own perception, our own opinion of how we see the world, and I don't like to write like that because I'm just one person. I'm just one human, and it doesn't mean anything if it's not to do with the greater good, the greater feeling of what's happening and what's going on. And let's be honest, none of us know what's happening in the world. None of us know what's going on in reality. We like to pretend we do, but we don't. So that's kind of the perspective I try and write from.
Absolutely. So I just want to point out at this point, like, Tristan, do you mind me like asking in public how old you are?
I'm 22. For sure.
All right,
Yeah.
so 22. With this perspective, I gotta say, man, I love everything you're bringing to the table. It is to hear this kind of, because obviously this is not obviously, but this is something I'm super passionate about, right? You know, what you're talking about here is how do we bring that spirituality into real life, and how do we actually, you know, find that space between all of these different perspectives where we can create that cauldron, right, for alchemy, for human experience. And
Exactly,
and I think that's what I felt in your work when I first saw the Rick and Morty page. Not only am I a massive fan of Rick and Morty, but I saw obviously with your psychedelic art, but just you could see with the way you approach things, you've got that kind of texture, that frequency.
Yeah.
So when you
work within the gaps.
Yeah. And it's kind of like they say, Leonard Cohen, it's, you know, through the cracks where the light gets in, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, how deep do we dive down? We could take this entire podcast down that conversation of reality, right? But just we won't go all the way down that rabbit hole, because I think, you know, you and I probably have to have many more conversations down the track in the future, and we can explore that one to its depths, right? But just as an overall, would you say it's you know, kind of along the lines of simulation theory kind of thing that you perceive things?
It definitely takes into opinion that whole side of it. I've written a little bit of stuff on simulation theory. I also saw, I don't know if you saw the new news updates about quantum mechanics, where they spoke about the new mirror theory and how we could just be in some kind of super quantum computing mirror simulated world where everything we're seeing is kind of the mirror version of us, but not, you know, reflected in some kind of different way, or reflected in a way that we wouldn't see ourselves, or some kind of way like that. I'm very into that kind of stuff, always following the new science releases. And this last year with COVID, I mean, they've been on a roll. I don't know what they're doing, but they're releasing things every day, new theories, new fucking breakthroughs. So there's a lot of stuff going on in that world.
It's been wild, huh? It's like the whole 2020 has just been a catalyst for breaking down these old structures, and in the chaos, that's where we see the innovation.
Definitely. And I feel like that, you know, Bitclout's riding on one of those waves, you know. Definitely. It's definitely been a catalyst for Bitclout and the creator economy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now with that in mind, what was Rick and Morty OG the first page, the first kind of account that you started on Bitclout?
Yes, it was the first one, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it was. The second one was me after maybe we reached, I mean, I joined, I think, roughly at 10,000 users when I created the page. I was floating around when there was about 5,000, 6,000 users. But yeah, the first one I created Rick and Morty, and then I obviously created my own page, which is the Tristan Siokos page, just to like attempt to get verified. But I don't feel that's necessarily possible, as it's a fan page, and you know, you can't get verified on another platform. So I don't see how they can verify me, but here I am, you know.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to see all kinds of innovations around verification coming. I know the conversation's already pretty hot on Bitclout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to Rick and Morty, and now you are so straight up OG, right? Like we've established that. Now with the Rick and Morty fan page, what was behind the inspiration? Like what made you think that's the page I'm going to start with the vast expanse of things that you're fascinated and interested in? What was it that led to Rick and Morty?
I feel like Rick and Morty does justice to everything that I kind of pursue in life. It's very open. It's very innovative in terms of you can't really run out of the creative aspect of it. You can just keep creating because there's you know, multiple dimensions. There's multiple things going on, multiple versions of you doing multiple things. On top of that, I feel the first Rick and Morty fans ever. I was a fan of Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon before he even started creating the previous little skits on what Rick and Morty was made of. Been following him in the very early shows he was making before he made anything. So I definitely feel I'm an OG in that sense as well. And yeah, definitely a huge fan of those two. So I felt it kind of, you know, personified my character the whole show. Yeah.
I hear you, man. I hear you, and I feel the same with Rick and Morty. It was one of those things that just kind of broke the seriousness around it all, and you can kind of just allow your imagination to start exploring and really, yeah. I actually watched it for the first time with my son. I thought, he's going to have to wait till he's older, but he's 11 years old and hold the judgments world. But he's a mature young man, and we had the best time watching that. And the conversations that came off the back of it about, parallel realities and interdimensional travel. And it was such a good conversation to have with an 11-year-old whose imagination is still wide open,
Yeah, for sure. I also
just had to kind of close his eyes in a few scenes.
Yeah, well, I did the same. I watched it with my cousin who's like 12 and a half, and also had to block it out for a couple things for him. But most of the things he did get, and he was, like you say, very imaginative in terms of the conversation that arose afterwards, and bringing up things that I was like, oh, flip, are we talking about this now? But yeah, I definitely think it's going to be one of, still in the next coming years. I mean, there's many episodes to come in that series, and lots to talk about, and lots of creative things that we can still discuss. I'm super excited. I mean, watching the beginning of season 5 now, that episode 2 with the decoys, I was absolutely blown away. I don't know if you've seen it, but yeah.
With the decoys?
Really, really good. With the decoys.
It's all a blur at the moment.
Yeah.
I have to go revisit that one.
I had to watch it 3 times. Don't stress.
Yeah. Actually, that's a really good point. It's so often, I watch a series, and we're so spoiled with choice these days, right? That it's so easy you just jump to the next one.
Yeah.
And thanks for bringing that up, because it's worth revisiting, and actually, might even make that part of my boy's curriculum for his high school years. That'll be his new English class. Breaking down Rick and Morty. We can cover physics and English in one class.
You could.
Nice. Hey, Alex, I think you got a question for Tristan.
Yeah, so Tristan mentioned that he's more of psychedelic journey, shamanism, and so on and so forth. So there is a question for you. Are you more about Carlos Castaneda, Paulo Coelho style, or you're shifting towards Eastern philosophy like Buddhism, Taoism, and other forms of shamanism that they have? Or it's just some sort of mix. So what's your view of the world in this terms?
Definitely some kind of a mixed variation of both of them, and a couple alternatives. I've been a shamanic kind of healer, I would say, for quite a few years, for about 5 years now. I went to Peru. I've done a couple trip sits where people have done ayahuasca, and I've led them through the space. I myself have done a lot of trips on psilocybin, on ayahuasca, all of these types of things, Peruvian torch as well. And I'm more of the person who will stay sober, especially through that kind of space, and lead those people through the space and help specifically with the integration when they come out of that space. That I feel is the most important, because when you're in that space, it's not too much. It's not too hectic because you're not yourself. But afterwards, when you're coming back and you realize how different your perception of the world is, that I feel is the most difficult part. So that's mostly what I work with helping people integrate it into their lives, giving them material to read, giving them different things that they can perhaps draw to, portray what they're seeing and what they're feeling, because that's I feel the most important thing. I mean, when I first tripped, I was lost for months and months and months. There was no one around me who knew what I was even talking about. And so that kind of set me on the journey to help people with that, because I struggled, definitely. I didn't know what was going on. My perception of reality was completely different. I mean, before I had anything, the first thing I had was psilocybin, and before I had anything, I was full atheist. I wasn't spiritual in any sense of the word. Everything was how it is. This is a table. This is a book. And now it's far from that. If I concentrate on anything and you go into that meditative state, I see infinity in everything. And I believe we all have that ability within us, you know, to see the all, to see that it's not just us, it's not just the person who's staring at, you know, the particular object. We're living inside. We're not. I really like the quote by, who is it? It might be Eckhart Tolle. But it's, you're not the universe. You're not experiencing the universe or in the universe. You are the universe. You came. Every atom within you was made within the like the core of a star. Every single one. You've come from billions and billions of stars all around the universe to make you right here. You're not like, you haven't just been plopped into reality and you're like, go experience, you know. Which people get lost in because you know, it gets indoctrinated into us throughout our lives, and by the time you're old enough, 18, 19, 20 or whatever, to realize that it's not just you experiencing the world, it's a shock. So yeah,
Absolutely.
And do you support any sort of meditation practices or just spiritual journey practices that, for example, Carlos Castaneda suggested to do, like stopping your inner dialogue and so on and so forth? And Daoism also has some trainings for making your mind more solid and more combined with the universe, something like this.
Definitely.
This practice, could you give maybe some top 3 advices from you, what you should do in terms of practice? Just how to change your mind to feel better today? Thank you.
Definitely. I love Carlos Castaneda. I've read a lot of his books about dreaming, and one of the things I practice is his advice to practice lucid dreaming, which is quite difficult for people who, like you said, don't meditate. I think the advice I would give, I meditate every day, twice a day. When I wake up, I meditate for 5 to 10 minutes. In the evening, maybe a bit longer. Most of the time, 5 to 10 minutes, but sometimes half an hour to an hour. The way I meditate, I would say, still your mind. Most people try and focus on a specific thing. They're like, oh, I have an injury in my arm or whatever. And they try and get their mind, you know, into that injury. They try and see what's wrong and work around it. I don't do that. I focus specifically on trying to still your mind, stop the dialogue, like you say. The most important thing I feel is to practice what they call mindfulness, which Carlos Castaneda does actually speak about quite a bit, which is just be aware of your breathing, because every time you breathe in, you're bringing in consciousness. Every time you breathe out, you're bringing out the lack of consciousness. So that's all I work on, is that cycle. And that brings in more awareness into what you're doing, into your space, into your life, into your body even, compared to what the external, you know. I feel practice dreaming is very important, because there's a whole reality going on outside of this reality, outside of our waking reality. Normally before bed, after I've done a meditation, I'll actually lie and I will like repeat something that I would like to lucid dream about. So I'll, let's say over to myself, I will lucid dream tonight. I will lucid dream tonight. I will lucid dream tonight. And it is tedious, but it's practice. And like everything in life, it takes a lot of practice to get your mind into that space. And the most difficult thing I feel with what Carlos Castaneda speaks about is becoming lucid in the dream, because most people actually don't understand what becoming lucid means. It's basically this. It's reality, how you're speaking now, how you're interacting with everything around you, but in a dream. It's quite literally waking up in the dream. And meditation definitely helps with that, because meditation allows you to become very aware of your surroundings when you're awake. And I feel most of the time when I do become lucid in a dream, I become lucid almost in a state of like a meditative state. And then you can kind of move on from there and explore the dream world in whatever way you're going to. I also feel exercise is very important. You need to get your body kind of in the right cycle of movement in order to move in those different spaces. You have to master your movement here. Otherwise, you won't be able to move in a different way somewhere else.
Absolutely, man. You know, it's like, as you say, that the human vehicle, the way I like to think of it, you know, is like, you know, it's the character in the computer game, right? And it's like, you know, the movie Avatar, and you know, it's like, it's almost like we kind of get our vehicle growing and preparing it and then getting it ready, and then as the body's safe, as the vehicle's safe, more and more consciousness starts coming in. And I think you know, mindfulness, like you say, is so important, right? Because then we go from being the coded to the coder, right? You know, we get to be the one that decides how to code our vehicle instead of society and our parenting.
For sure. But the watch is always there, you know. It's a good thing that you bring up there, Mark. I mean, the first thing of that meditation and the mindfulness is you are experiencing it. You are essentially the watcher. But at the same time, when you get into those meditative states and those lucid dreaming states and all of that, you're not the watcher. You're not what you are right now. As soon as you bring in more awareness into your life, you are watching the watcher, and it becomes weird for people. That's where the integration thing comes in. Just like if you're tripping, I live there all the time. I am permanently watching, not necessarily what I'm doing in like an over analyst kind of state, but you watching yourself live your life from like a perspective that isn't you, and that's where you actually pick up on the most stuff. It's where I feel the most empathy. It's where you can relate to most things that are going on around you, even non-human things. I mean, I speak to plants, not in the crazy kind of way, like directly speaking to you plants, but I feel the energy of plants. I get what they are feeling in a strange way. It just takes a moment out of your regular human life to, you know, connect with another energy that isn't on the same frequency as yours, like human to human. So
absolutely,
it's
like a radio
tough,
station,
you know?
right? You know, it's like tuning into these different frequencies that are around us. And a shout out to an old friend of mine, Monica Gagliano, who's actually a professor who she got her breakthrough studying plants and communication in plants in a university master's. And now she's been traveling the world speaking to that at different events, and especially a lot of the psychedelic events. You know, she's been on the stage, and because it's we're starting to see now science bridging that world between spirituality and that, like you say, it's not this crazy kooky thing.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
You know,
it never ends.
Right. And that's the beauty of it, is as soon as we let go of needing an end, just enjoy the ride, you know. Speaking of which, you know, one of the first, you know, I was kind of diagnosed ADHD in my early 20s and all the thing and all that kind of jazz. And I remember working, right? These days it's like a prerequisite. It's like, no. I think half of Bitclout must be, you know, on the spectrum there.
Probably, yeah.
And, you know, and so I remember working at a bar. I was going to be a professional bartender. That was my thing. I loved human relationships. I loved studying people. And I remember a lady came in one day to get some tea during the daytime. And we just started talking. She talked about, you know, oracle cards and these different things. And then gave me this book from Osho on active meditation. This is probably, what was it, 20 years ago? No, 15 years ago. And it's when I finally realized, because I had a 1,000cc sports bike that, you know, that was my stress release. I'd jump on that and I'd go up, this is in Norway, I'd go on the Norwegian mountains and I'd go at stupid speeds, which I'm not recommending anyone as this as a technique for mindfulness, but this was my first experience, was realizing that when you're going at these crazy speeds, you know, and going around these bends, things flying past, and literally you have to be so focused on what you're doing or die. Yeah. That was actually my way of going into that meditative state, so I could then process, digest, and come back to that clarity. And once I realized that meditation doesn't just have to be sitting down, but like you say, it's more about just developing that awareness, that ability just to be present. It's such a beautiful thing, you know. So I want to ask a question that actually Matreshka had dropped in there, and I wanted to ask as well. You mentioned a few psychedelics, and the one that I hadn't heard before, I think you said Peruvian torch.
Yeah, I actually have one outside. It's a variation of cactus that normally grows in really dry landscapes like deserts. But essentially what it is it contains the compound dimethyltryptamine. I don't know if you've heard it, which is DMT. It's what ayahuasca is made out of. And essentially what you do is you get a cactus roughly the size of your forearm. You dry it out, it becomes this kind of powder. You strain it, that is the DMT, and then you smoke it. It's not the same as ayahuasca or the regular DMT, but it does have a similar type of hallucinatory effect on you.
Yeah, gotcha. Beautiful, man. Now, again, I'm having to pull myself back because I could go into that one for a long time. You know, as ayahuasca was one of the things that helped me release a lot of the bitterness around, you know, with my son's mother when we had this baby totally on. It was at a doof down south, a bush festival on acid that I met his mother. You know, at 28, right? And so that was the longest trip I've ever had. And it was ayahuasca. It was actually going to those ceremonies that helped me to actually, first of all, recognize that I had that bitterness, that I carried it. You know, this Mr. Nice Guy had a lot underneath. And like what you're saying there, Tristan, is so important. You know, the integration. I see that so much in the movement out there with psychedelics and different things.
Yeah.
It becomes that thing of chasing the hit while you're on the thing, but then coming back to the world and having to integrate. That's a big, intense process. I absolutely,
because you're not the same.
Love.
You're not the same afterwards. I mean, it's just facts, you know.
Yeah,
you really, and there's no one waiting for you in that same perspective, ready to show you what's going on or how to see it, or even, you know, clarify what you're thinking as not crazy, perhaps. So
yeah, absolutely, man. So beautiful. So not to go too far and stray off the path from Bitclout, which will be dangerous to do today, but so we're looking at Bitclout. You know, with what are your visions for what you want to bring? Are you just kind of weaving as you go, or do you have a vision that you see that of what's coming?
I definitely have a vision. In the beginning, I was for sure weaving as I went. Over the last month and a half, maybe 2 months, I've started trying to put it into a full kind of game plan for myself. I would like it to be the fan page on Bitclout for sure. The top one, bring out clothing lines, bring out websites, bring out Rick and Morty specific based incentives for my holders. And mostly get some more movement for my actual page, the Tristan Siokos page, which is more where I want to start moving the psychedelic stuff over to the shamanic stuff over to, and you know, clear Rick and Morty for full Rick and Morty stuff. But yeah, it does take a little bit of time when you've been on for a while. I mean, 5,500 followers is a lot of people. And I mean, I'm holding like 800 different creator coins from people that I've just, you know, shown support to or onboarded and helped them. So yeah, I see Bitclout going way bigger than this, way bigger than this. I feel we haven't even begun yet, to be honest. Which is hectic to think about, considering how much has happened in such a short time. It's crazy to watch the space evolve. But yeah, I feel Diamond Hands and Maybeam and Lazy Nina and all of these devs, Carsync, there's a lot planned for this platform that they're not releasing, which I don't love necessarily, because it is a decentralized thing. So we all kind of in this together, but sometimes it does feel like you're being, you know, pulled forward a little bit as it moves so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see a lot happening here. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. Alex, you had a question.
Yeah, I would like to add to some words that Rick and Morty said about the Diamond Hands and like the issues with communication with the Bitclout, which we discussed in our previous sessions and so on and so forth. But I read the AMA, which was initiated by David Sun and supported by T.I. Jean. And there was some answers to our questions as well. And it was said that they're going to scale just in a few moments. We can say that it was 1 or 2 months for Bitclout. I think it will be just a moment in the future.
It is, but apparently a year is 100 days. So
yeah, they said that they need to ship some other stuff, and then they will go bigger on scaling the project and attracting more users to it. So now we have a very great chance just to seize our niche
Yeah.
and to see our position in Bitclout. While it's not happening because when there will be more guys, it will be harder to compete. And this is a
Definitely,
great.
yeah.
This is that I would
Yeah,
like
I read
to.
through that a little bit, but I find it difficult. I feel like the communication is definitely getting better. It's just we need to get it across the point that not all of us are developers, not all of us are coders. I'm learning how to code, but I'm very far behind where these characters are at. I just feel like they need to learn a little bit how to explain to the common person, because at the moment, people jumping on that have never been on this kind of a platform, have never done speculation before, and aren't coders specifically, have no idea what's going on. They have no idea what they're reading when they read these disclaimers and information pamphlet things that they've written about what's actually happening in each movement, like the Blitz thing that's going to happen now that you mentioned. That's exciting. I've been on long enough that I can research and understand what they're talking about. But new users who are jumping on are absolutely blind, and I know that for a fact. I've onboarded 85 people, another 2 coming on this week that I'm speaking to, one who almost has 1 million followers on TikTok, and they've checked it out, and we're chatting about it, and they have no idea what's going on. It takes me 4 or 5 hours to actually walk through with them on the platform, on the phone, video chats. This is how you do this. This is how you buy people. This is how, because they have no idea. They lost.
Rick,
so yeah,
I
feel like we need to work on that.
For you, man, I have a suggestion. You can pull 10 or 20 people together and bring it to the call like ours, and we can all
share. We can have a group discussion. Definitely, I'll chat to you about that.
Do it. Or they can just jump in natural average, but sometimes it's just too crowded and a lot of stuff is under discussion. So we can make Cloud forum call for this, to choose the date and to try explain everything.
That sounds cool. For sure.
Think about it. If you will, I will support you, and Mark, I think as well. And the other question that I would like to add something to those that you have said now. The great challenge for Bitclout and new users is that it's quite complicated in terms of instruments, tools, and so on and so forth. And it's easier for us. It was easier for us because we were on the beginning stage. The beginning stage.
We got to be built with it.
It was not so many tools, to develop your account. There wasn't diamonds. There wasn't like many other features that we have now, and it will be harder for newcomers to go deeper and to clarify for themselves how it works using all the stuff that we have. And as far as I see, they're going to ship more stuff, which will, I think, increase the complexity of
definitely,
itself. And we definitely need some sort of seminars or something like this for newcomers, so they can join or just go into the YouTube page and just watch.
I mean, I know it's
Mark,
a bit
different. This kind of stuff, and it's great.
Yeah, I know it's a bit maybe lame, perhaps, but and goes against the platform. But I did write a post a while back tagging all the devs in it. Maybe there should be some kind of tutorial, when you I don't know if it's even possible to do that with the blockchain, but some kind of added feature that when you're first creating a new account, it takes you through it. It does a fake buy so that you can fake buy someone, fake sell someone, fake follow someone, fake diamond, and just kind of do a 5-minute run through on what you're actually doing and where you are within the platform. A lot of the people, the last like 5 or so people that I've spoken to them about this, and they say that would make it much easier, even because it wouldn't take long. It would just be like one run through of the whole platform on how to do everything, and it's like like you're playing a game like Clash of Clans or something, and it tells you exactly what you're doing, how to do it, and then by the end of the tutorial, you're like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? I can do this. Go away, tutorial.
Absolutely, man. I think that's such a key to education in general. We're seeing a trend towards gamification, and I think it's important to gamify education in that way, because in the end, that's we love games. Life is a game, you know? And so why is learning not a game, right? Yeah. And I could imagine just what you're saying, Tristan, like having it like, you know, as you come on, once you do this, you get a diamond, or once you do this or something like that, where they get their initial clout, you know, like a couple of bucks of clout for, you know, they have that on Coinbase, you know, where you go on and in fact, Coinbase might have a coin thing for that, you know, where
possibly,
you get a free $5 or something for, So what I really want to get into as well, Tristan, because I mean, what we're discussing here is it makes me think of, you know, this old, you know, Chinese saying of, you know, difficulty in the beginning, you know, in the old I Ching, and you know, the wisdom of change, right, is that there's always difficulty in the beginning. And this is where sometimes we can get so inspired, but then we get disappointed when it's not where we think it is, right? And so that makes me think of in the gene keys work that I do, there's something called the 41st gene key. It relates to an aspect of our DNA, our 41st codon. And it's the shadow nature of humanity, to, you know, the shadow nature being the survival patterns, etc., of fantasy, right? And then we would say it's the gift of anticipation. And this is something that I really see Bitclout is providing, which I'm so super excited about, is in relation to the early part of this conversation, is it's really giving us a place where we're kind of forced in a way to start looking at how do we create environments that are conducive to self-awareness? How do we create environments and educate around self-responsibility, right? Because I know that you're big on decentralization and freedom, and freedom's terrifying, right? Like true freedom can be very terrifying when people first peer into it. And so I think it's important we have these little vessels.
I think it's because they associate freedom with chaos. And that's only because of the, you know, the predetermined idea that they have about the world and what it would look like free, because we've never had an example of what freedom actually looks like. And I think that's important to take into account. We actually have no idea what freedom would even mean. And that's why there's a bit of this, like you say, a bit of holding themselves back to wanting to fully give themselves over to this new way of life. But I don't think we should do that. I think we should run right into it and just accept the consequences for a little bit and go at it, because it's much more beneficial for everyone instead of just the 1% in power.
Yeah. Absolutely right. I like that. Just run in and take the consequences a bit. And in a way, if we look back on history, right, this is innovation. There's the forerunners that go to the front. You know, they used to be the berserkers in, you know, my mother's Norwegian and some of my Viking heritage. You know, the berserkers would just take a whole handful of mushrooms and then go berserk, right? They would like tap into the divine gods of chaos and just charge and break the seal, and then the others would follow. You know, and then once it's stabilized, then you start build the foundations, and I guess a lot of us are playing the role of berserker, getting in there and see what happens. So also, you've got another page as well.
I got a few pages, a couple.
What page you got going? Because one was it Flow State? Is that what the name was?
Yeah, there's one that is called State of Flow. That's my parkour company. So I run that with my friend. He's up in Cape Town at the moment as well. And yeah, I'm essentially a free runner. I've competed in a few competitions, jumping across buildings, backflipping, double backflips. Best to watch the page and you can see what we're all about. But essentially, we teach people how to control their movements. We integrate this kind of mind control that we were speaking of as well. We're getting yourself in the right state to enter that flow state, to actually, you know, feel the energy around you and be able to use it, not just be unaware of it and walk through like a zombie in life, you know, but to actually go at it. And teach yourself. We teach people how to fall. We teach people how to help someone if they hurt specifically. I do first aid and things like that. And we teach people how to actually embrace what they're doing. I mean, regardless of where you are or what you're doing, how do you want to move through this space? And we kind of specifically teach people the confidence of being able to do that, of charging the particular circumstance and situation, however they feel that they would want to charge it, not just letting the situation lead them.
That's what I love about the more free flow style of free running, you know, obviously coming from parkour, which for those that don't know, parkour traditionally, from my understanding, was, you know, how to get from one point to the other in the most efficient way possible, like through a city or something like that. Whereas free running is a lot more expressive, isn't it?
It's a misconception. They are exactly the same thing. But yes, your description of it is right. So if I'm on this side of the city and there's a city, I'm not going to go through all the streets. I'm going to go in a straight line. And it doesn't matter what the line is, what I'm going through, I'm going to find a way to go in that straight line, and not you know, divert off my path.
So in a way, free running's it's still looking at, it's almost like it has extra dimensions of definition to the word efficiency. In that sense, like, you know, we talk about parkour, it's kind of thinking very 3D, 2D, 3D, like from here to there, time it takes. Whereas the free running seems to have more of that. It's not just about getting to the point, but you know, the most efficient
expressing
way
yourself.
To experience.
Yeah, exactly, Mark. Basically, how to express yourself and keep going on your path as efficiently as possible using both. Taking
the falls, moving with it. I remember when I was 28, so it was just before my son came into the world, and we used to go. I was doing free running in the city. And again, similar thing. I used to love like the contrast of the urban, you know, environment and people with their suits and ties, and then running through just like with this wild creativity and watching the faces and you know, just seeing how they break open, you know.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. When you run past and you jump over a building and you can see, or one story high, for example, and you see like 15 people, you know, check you jump over, but it's like, you don't have time to think about that. That's what I also love about free running, is if you're doing it properly, it's not about who's watching you. It's about the energy that you're moving through the space. Because you continue, you're already at the next building by the time the people are talking at the last building about what just happened. So.
Yeah, it's a lot like Bitclout, right? You kind of got to just keep on going, keep on flowing.
Yeah, you can make mistakes, you can fall, like everything in life. I feel you only fail when you don't get up.
Absolutely. Alex, you got a question there, my friend?
Yeah, I'd like to ask about Tristan's arts, because I saw several of them on your Rick and Morty page, and it's interesting for me. Are you doing design for a living?
At the moment, I'm trying to. I've been unemployed in the real world for about 7 months or so now. I work mostly on freelance writing. I write like front pages of books and design front pages of books for people, and write intros and prologues and things like that for them. But yeah, I've mostly shifted into full artwork and trying to expand my influence on the internet, you know, let people know my beliefs, what I feel for the world, and you know, see who's with me, basically.
And second point that I would like to mention is that you told that you are writing like stories, books, and so on and so forth. Did you ever thought about writing a scenario or something like this? I mean, a plot for the movie?
Yeah, I have thought about it a little bit. I've started writing with one of my friends who I signed up. You've probably seen her page around, Crypto Unicorn. She and I are kind of designing a comic at the moment. So we're both illustrating and I'm doing the dialogues for it, but we're trying to start releasing some Rick and Morty comic books and things like that for coin holders and you know, additional incentives. So we'll see, but I mostly get lost in the psychedelic and spiritual writing. So I'm really trying to keep Rick and Morty as what it is, you know, and not write comic books about him taking mushrooms and seeing God, because that doesn't help.
Yeah. Why I was?
It's almost like Rick and Morty is a gateway drug to consciousness. You got to slip it in sneakily.
The reason
Yeah.
why I was asking this because as we discussed it before, Bitclout is in its earlier stage, and we have some great opportunities that we won't have in future because we have
Yeah.
small community and some people are just within handlands of our reach. So we have Andrew Miana. I would like to mention this, and if you are doing this professionally, do you know Andrew Miana? Have you seen
No.
with him? Check out our page, and you will know who's the guy, and maybe you will have an idea for him, or just create
Yeah,
something
for
cool.
sure.
Because he's a Hollywood producer. Of course, he's
Okay.
very so he's in a real business for a very long period, and he does have very remarkable achievements. And of course, he's choosing what he will read or not. But if you're doing like professionally, maybe it will be a point of interest for both.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, that sounds super cool. I
Yeah,
write
Mark
all the
knows
time. I
what
mean,
I'm
I don't
talking
do anything
about.
else.
Maybe he disagree with me and
Yeah.
disapprove.
So this brings me to another question, Tristan. One of the things that Bitclout has been blowing my mind, and I've fallen head over here. Why I've got this, like I would never put a logo on my arm, but to me this is a symbol, right, of a creative
Yeah.
revolution that's underway.
Of a movement,
And-
straight up, yeah.
Right? Yeah, and one of the things that it just I'm head over heels in love with is this is like an ultimate incubator, right? Where so many people that were separated in the old worlds are able to cross those boundaries. Like Alex says, we've got, Andrew, who's, producer working for Disney right now. There's all these other film people, business people, and artists and technical people and the rest. So of all these characters that you've come across in your time as one of the OGs here on the platform, what are some of the most memorable moments you've had on Bitclout?
Some of the most memorable moments, I'm going to have to put Mario Norful right there on the top. I've been watching him since the very beginning, and I'm a machine. I barely sleep because I'm constantly on this, but he doesn't even know what sleep is. When he partnered with Clout, I thought that was quite a revolutionary thing that happened on the platform. And I just don't know if you saw, Clout just recently got verified as well. Contemplating jumping over. That. I haven't made the jump yet, but I am contemplating it more than I was. Some other ones, I would have to say David, the DA5 ID guy. Very impressed. Don't know who he is, if he has some association with one of the top profiles or a few of the top profiles, but watching him go from, I remember seeing on the day when he joined, or the day before he joined, something like a day after he joined, I saw him on a couple hundred. I think he was on $400, $500 or something. And I even remember doing it. I went to my homepage, I scrolled the global, and then I went back to his page because I had a second thought. And he was already on 8,000. And I was like, what happened? What happened? I feel Bitclout does that sometimes. Hey, you see something and you're right there with the early people seeing it, and you don't make the connection that this is going to be 10, 15, 20, 30 times as big as it is right now. And then it just explodes. You don't even have a second chance. So there's been a few things that I've been watching that even from the beginning that have been just didn't even make sense. They just haven't even made sense how quickly they've exploded. Which it leads to quite a FOMO environment. The fear of missing out floats around quite a bit. And I feel like that's why people are, maybe so addicted to it, because there's new stuff popping up all the time. Like you say, there's new people on with new ideas and people that you can connect to that are in a similar mindset to you all the time. It doesn't stop. And going to sleep for 4 or 5 hours you really are missing out. It's not like you just scared for nothing. You are missing out.
It's genuine, man. I remember in the first couple of weeks, I happened to have space to be able to really dive in. I was on the Nacho call all the time, and I was just loving it. And I remember the day that I first had to take 8 hours, like not looking at it, just doing some other things, and then coming back and going, what's happened?
I'm
What's
lost.
it?
You're
Oh,
starting
shit.
again. You're basically coming back and starting again.
And then by the time you catch up, it's like, hang on, while I was catching up, what happened? Damn it.
Yeah, I remember the first time I actually did that, Mark. The first time I took like a proper break from it, I actually missed the diamond update, which I was not happy about. I won't lie. I went off for about 10 hours or so, and I came back and I was 2 hours late. And I saw missed calls. All my friends were like, "Do you see the diamonds?" I was like, "What's a diamond?" Yeah, it's been crazy, and I think we're not even like I said, we're not even beginning yet. We haven't even started. It's very exciting.
And I think that's the context that I think storytelling is really important to our time right now, and really continually, this is what I love about your artwork and what you do is it's really about storytelling, right? It's like bringing people in. Well, of course it is, you're a writer, but it's bringing people into that where they can really digest it. And I think here on Bitclout, really that's something I'm very passionate about, is connecting people to that bigger story. This bigger revolution that's going on, and what we're in right now is a drop in the ocean of what's to come. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Beautiful, man. So I'm just aware of the time because it is in the middle of the morning for you, my friend. What is there anything, like, if you could put a message to the users of Bitclout and people coming on board, people watching this interview and chat, what's the main thing that comes to you right now that you'd want to say to them?
I would say don't stop learning. Don't get misled by the knowledge you think you believe you have. I think the most important thing right now is you're not caught up with where the world is. And you're not going to be able to stop learning. And I think that's going to be a test of the future coming, is to test the people who think they know stuff, because you don't. So yeah, that would definitely be my put out to the world. Learn about this technology, study up, research, communicate with people, and learn, because that's why we're here.
That's awesome. That's a beautiful soundbite right there. What about you, Alex? You got anything for Tristan here? And have we got any questions from the audience? If you want to chuck them in the chat, maybe just you got a few more minutes, Tristan?
Yeah, definitely.
Just steam in your engine. Great.
I'm definitely still hyped up.
You've had your power now.
Yeah. So we've got a section of brief questions, and your answers is not necessary to be as short as my questions. So it's up to you how you will approach them and answer. The first one is Rick or Morty?
Sure, Rick.
Who Rick? Okay.
Rick for sure. Rick doesn't. Rick is the one. Morty is kind of the buffer that keeps Rick in existence, but Rick is for sure the one.
Great.
I love that,
Pamela Anderson or Gwyneth Paltrow?
Sorry?
Pamela Anderson or Gwyneth Paltrow? Which one? They are both on the Bitclout, so which one would you choose?
That's tough. Yeah, I'm not even going to do that. I'm gonna say all of them equally. I'll be nice.
Okay, great.
I just noticed I had no idea Gwyneth Paltrow was on the platform. I learned something new today.
Great. So coffee or tea?
What's that? Sorry, I'm losing signal.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee or tea? I would say tea. Hey, I've always been kind of leaning towards tea. Coffee, as me and Mark were talking about, I'm full on ADHD. So having a cup of coffee or more than a cup of coffee a day, I mean, I'm just a jackrabbit bouncing around the apartment. So I would say tea for sure.
Bitcoin or Dogecoin?
Bitcoin, all the way. Dogecoin has nothing on Bitcoin. It's hype. It's a culture coin like Shiba Inu, And for sure it did well. I was in it, I won't lie, when it did that jump to 70 cents. But I took my profit like any smart cryptocurrency trader. I don't think it'll get that much bigger. There's people saying it'll get to $1,000. I don't think so. I think Bitcoin in the next 10 years is going to take over the whole world, just like Bitclout will with the social media aspect of it.
Great. What car would you choose, Tesla or Porsche?
Tesla, for sure. But I think that's a bit like unfair though, because I've never necessarily been a fan of Porsche. If I had to choose either one of them, and if there was another option, I'd probably choose Audi, like an Audi RS8 or something like that. Speaking of that, I did love when they did that, the listing and Lamborghinis dropped from the sky. That was amazing.
That was a beautiful touch. Tristan, you're blowing me away. Yeah, they're going to be collectors NFTs, I think.
100%.
Our screenshots with the different local times on them. Yeah, man. Every answer, everything you're sharing, you blow me away, man. It's yeah. I find you so fascinating. Sorry, I wanted to go down a rabbit hole, but I won't. I'm gonna get lost. Back to you, Alex.
We'll have many conversations more, Mark. We'll chat in the future.
Indeed.
So, and the last one, Bitclout or Twitter?
I'm not even answering that because you know my answers, but Clout, like, it doesn't even, Twitter is nothing compared to this. Nothing.
Cool. Thank you, mate.
Thank you so much, guys. Had a lot of fun with you guys.
Yeah, Tristan, you're an incredible man. It's really great to meet you and have this conversation. I've been wanting to chat with you for a long time. Thanks, Alex, for organizing it. It's amazing to watch what you're doing. You have so many talents. And I think this is, you to me are a role model for the gift of ADHD. It is an absolute gift, that you bring to the world, to the platform. Appreciate what you share, your art, your creativity, and you're actually one of the role models on the platform for me as well, to inspire the creativity and the way that you blend it all with the art, etc. So thanks for everything you bring to the platform.
Yeah, and I'll chat to some of the people I've onboarded and see if we can organize in the future that big group call. We can explain some of the stuff to them because I'm having a tough time. Some of them get it like this, others they don't know what's going on. So we'll chat about that.
Yeah, it will be cool, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Cool. Alex, over to you.
Thank you everyone for watching it. Thank you, Mark, for hosting and being just I don't have any words to explain how meaningful and how you are important for this conversation. And thank you, Rick and Morty, to be such an open guy and agreeing to join our interview and just sharing your story. And which is more important from my point of view is sharing your values, which correlates heavily with what you are doing on Bitclout. And you are just a legend, man. Everyone everyone who has done something for Bitclout in a bigger way, for me, it's just a legend, and you are one of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.